Nile Niami and his Bel Air Mansion are making headlines again this week with some pretty big developments around the foreclosure status of his project. There are a couple of new things that happened with this property, but this past week's timeline starts with the one home being ready for auction, but the auction being delayed a couple of weeks due to a power grab allegation of one of the biggest lenders. And then as we approach the new auction date, the auction was pushed off again due to the developer Nile Niami having filed for bankruptcy protection. If you're new to this story, I'll give you a little bit of context before we dive into the video and the updates. So long story short, there's this developer Nile Niami out in California who spent the past 10 years building a 105,000 square foot mega mansion at the top of a mountain in Bel Air that he famously has nicknamed The One. The house is decked out with basically every amenity that you can imagine, including a state-of-the-art movie theater, a 5,500 square foot master suite that has its own swimming pool. It's got a big 50-car garage with 2 turntables. There's an entertainment wing with a 4-lane bowling alley, and downstairs holds a fully functional nightclub. Nile Niami has been rumoring for years now that when he's done building this house, he is going to list it for sale for a whopping $500 million. Well, fast forward to today, and this Bel Air estate is about 95% completed, but unfortunately, Nile has fallen behind on his loan payments, which has caused a default, and the final bits of construction have been slowed down as a result. Nobody knows for sure what the end of this story will look like, but the outcome that the bank has been looking for is to foreclose on the home and then recoup as much money as they possibly can. But the outcome that the realtors and the contractors have been looking for here is to finish the house, get the certificate of occupancy, list it for sale, hopefully get top dollar, and then pay everybody back who's owed money. But then there's the outcome that the developer Nile Niami has been looking for, and he wants to turn the house into an event venue where he can do pay-per-view events and film a reality TV show. I actually had the opportunity to tour this amazing property with one of the lead contractors a couple of months ago, which is where I got all that footage that I just showed you guys a minute ago. And this place is by far the most incredible home that I have ever seen, so it is pretty sad to see this story to have taken such a dark turn. Anyways, let's get into the latest news surrounding The One, but before we do, just in case you're new to my channel, a quick introduction. My name is Scott. I'm a real estate developer myself out of Arizona, so here on my channel we talk basically all things real estate. If you're into real estate news like we're talking about today, think about hitting the subscribe button down below before we go any further, because I'm posting new videos every week and I'd love to have you guys along for the ride. Okay, so the first big update surrounding The One was about a week ago when the LA Times reported 2 big developments in the story. The first is the fact that The One actually had a planned foreclosure auction scheduled this month. And then the second thing is that the biggest lender on this project, Don Hankey with Hankey Capital, was accused of trying to cut everybody else out of the deal when the home actually did sell. Now let's talk about the foreclosure auction part of this process first. See, when you have a loan out on a property, whether it's a regular mortgage in a regular house like where I'm sitting, or if it's a loan on a mega mansion development project like this one, you are going to be at risk of foreclosure if you ever stop making your mortgage payments. Nile Niami did just that. He stopped making his mortgage payments on his $106 million loan that he owed on The One to Hankey Capital last year, and because of that, the foreclosure process began. Once the foreclosure process starts, the courts and the bank have a ton of paperwork that they need to get sorted out, which usually takes months or even longer. But after that, a home in this condition will usually go to auction under what's called a trustee's sale. At a trustee's sale, anybody can show up to the auction and make bids on the house just like at any other auction. The home will then be sold to the highest bidder, and then the lien holders will be paid out in order of priority. We know now that there is $176 million worth of total debt on this property with a ton of people who are owed money. So an auction is a scary proposition for this project because it means that if the home sells for less than what is owed, there's a lot of people who are going to end up not getting paid. The last price that the realtor said that this property could probably fetch is around $225 million, which would be more than enough to pay all the people who are owed money, and there might even be some profit left on the table for Nile Niami too. That is exactly where Don Hankey from Hankey Capital, though, is supposedly doing a power grab. He is accused of trying to take control of the property, then take it to auction, sell it, and keep whatever proceeds do come in for himself. Not a cool move on his part, but my guess on what's happening here is Don Hankey has had money lent to this project for so many years now now, and he has gone such a long time without receiving an interest payment on that money that he is just desperate to get some of his principal back at this point. Even though I'm sure he knows that the right thing to do is to finish the house, get the certificate of occupancy, list it for sale, and fetch top dollar, that will likely stall the sale of this project for at least another 6 months, and the impression that I'm getting is that Hanky is just losing patience. All right, so now moving on to the second bit of news, and quite honestly, a pretty major development in this story, and that is that the LA Times did a follow-up reporting that a last-minute bankruptcy filing aims to block auction of the One Mega Mansion. It turns out that the One was scheduled to go up for auction today, the day that I'm releasing this video, but Nile Niami filed for bankruptcy in the nick of time. This bankruptcy comes with what's called an automatic stay of the auction sale. An automatic stay is a provision in the United States bankruptcy law that temporarily prevents creditors, collection agencies, and others from pursuing debtors for money that they owe. Now, I'm not an attorney, but I did spend several years in my corporate job helping mortgage borrowers who had filed for bankruptcy, and the process is pretty fascinating. To oversimplify the process, if you were behind on payments on basically any debt that you owe, even if it is a $106 million mortgage, then you can file for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which will make it to where the people that you owe money to are not allowed to pursue you for that money, at least for a little while. The Chapter 11 bankruptcy basically just allows the person who filed for bankruptcy to get their affairs in order and either pay off or restructure their debts. According to the US courts, a case filed under Chapter 11 of the United States Bankruptcy Code is frequently referred to as a reorganization bankruptcy. Usually the debtor remains in possession, has the power and duties of a trustee, may continue to operate its business, and may, with court approval, borrow new money. This means that contrary to a lot of reports, even though the One technically does have a receiver attached to it at this point, Nile Niami still has a lot of control over what happens with this property next. Full disclaimer, by the way, it should go without saying that I am not an attorney, so if you're in a position where you can't pay your debts, I highly recommend you seek legal counsel. Anyways, the official owner of the One is actually Nile's limited liability company, which is called Crest Lloyd LLC. So Crest Lloyd is the company that filed for bankruptcy in the District of Central California with a case assigned to Deborah J. Salzman. Now that Nile Niami's company, who owns the One, has filed for bankruptcy protection, what happens next? Well, a rep for Crest Lloyd LLC said in court papers that while there are a total of $176 million worth of loans attached to the One, the property is worth at least $325 million, which means there's plenty of value left to pay off all of the debt. The receiver of the property, Ted Lanes, who we have talked about in prior videos, has not commented on the bankruptcy status of the One yet, but we know as of the last report that he actually wanted to complete the construction of the project and ultimately list it for sale, so I'd imagine that he's actually in support of the bankruptcy filing. According to Yahoo Finance, the primary lender on this home, Don Hanky, is disappointed in not going to foreclosure because he really is just desperate to get some of his capital returned. Nile Niami recently reported in an interview that he has a friend who's supposedly going to loan him a couple of $100 million to bail him out of this situation. And while I don't believe that this friend is actually out there and is going to bail Nile Niami out of this situation, a bailout is exactly what Nile and his company Crest Lloyd LLC needs if they're trying to save the One from foreclosure. His Chapter 11 bankruptcy has bought him a little bit of time for now, but if he can't get those debts restructured or paid off, get the house finished, and get the house sold, he's gonna end up right back in the same boat before we know it. Even though this property gets a ton of criticism lately for it being too overbuilt for the neighborhood or for Nile's wild event venue plans, I've said it before and I'll say it again that the One is really an incredible piece of real estate. It's a shame that the home has been wound up in such a financial mess because there are so many lenders and people out there who still need to be paid, and if Hanky Capital just tries to panic sell the home through a foreclosure, then there are likely a lot of people who stand to lose a lot of money on this deal. At the end of the day, while the One is technically a house that's about 20 times the size that anyone would ever need in a house, it's still an iconic piece of real estate, and it's a place that I could totally picture somebody calling home once this mess is all sorted out. You guys know that as this story continues to develop and unfold, I'll continue to post more updates here on my channel, so remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already if you're into this story and you want to hear more. And one favor to ask before we go, if you enjoyed the video today, if you could just hit the thumbs up button down below, that would really help to support this video and my channel. But that's all I've got for you guys this time, so until next time, see ya!